Gun violence has practically become an unavoidable topic in American society as of late, and after the tragedy at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, many students are speaking out for stricter gun laws. However, there's also backlash from conservative lawmakers who have claimed that many of these reports are either fake or being overly opportunistic. To help combat the harmful narrative, I'm here today as a student at St. Anselm's Abbey School. My name is Patten, to give you the perspective of students and teachers at our school, which is a small, all-boys Catholic and middle school right in DC. The first thing I wanted to ask everyone was, what is the atmosphere of school like after news of a shooting elsewhere in the country?
At other schools, after a shooting, you might feel kind of threatened by it, but I feel here especially, we have a bit of a disconnect with reality in a sort of way.
I would say it's certainly more eerie. We had a lockdown drill right after the school shooting, and it certainly made me feel a little bit less secure at school.
It's a little scary, but we're all trying to keep it, we're trying to go back to how it used to be at this school where it's very quiet.
We always, whenever we hear of it, we always have a prayer for them in the morning announcements, because we always do prayer. Like there's like this lull, and then like you realize people have died, and then you realize it just breaks on you, and it doesn't feel good, and this happens every day.
You know, you can tell that the tragedy's on the minds of some people, but day-to-day, person-to-person, the interactions carry on relatively the same.
A bunch of the students at St. Anselm's come from a place where they don't have to focus on, you know, political action, and they don't have to focus on sort of the commonwealth and common good, because they already have it pretty good.
And since teachers teach at high school for longer than 4 years, they've definitely seen cycles as gun violence has increased in recent years. I wanted to ask them what it's like to go through that cycle and how it's coped with personally.
I am Ms. Janine Dunn, English teacher at St. Anselm's Abbey School, proud teacher of Max Patten. The older kids have come to me and said, because they know I'm involved with a group called Moms Demand Action, they've come to me and said, what can I do? Maybe we can, you know, get the kids in DC involved in this March 24 March on the Capitol. You know, I've got an email from a couple of them saying I'm interested in doing some work in this space if they do want to act, and so it's nice to see that.
Trump and some GOP lawmakers have floated the idea of arming teachers and training them in order to defend students. So I wanted to ask the students how they felt about that.
I don't think that's a great idea.
I see where he's coming from, but at the same time, you can't give all teachers guns, because guns are something where you really need to be experienced to use it.
I disagree with that. I do not think that's a good idea at all.
If this were a very gun-heavy culture, it would make a lot more sense, actually. But our gun policies have to be made in mind with the culture that is already existing within a society, or within our society. And for most people in our society, they have not carried a gun.
It is a terrible idea.
My mother is a college professor, and my cousin is a kindergarten teacher. And I would say I wouldn't feel comfortable with either of them carrying guns.
And of course, I wanted to see how my teacher felt about it.
No. No, hard stop, no. Teaching is a really delicate operation. You have to love what you do, you have to love the kids in your classroom, you have to be ready to make amends when things don't go well, you have to care about the rapport that you build with them, you have to trust the environment, you have to constantly self-reflect, and all of these things are not a space for carrying a weapon. It just doesn't build the loving community that you need to actually educate a young person, or to at least help them educate themselves and want to be educated and want to have this like warm and open space where you can open your mind up.
Now, as students are rallying for stricter gun laws across the country, I wanted to know, do teachers sympathize with their students in fighting for this cause?
Oh, I absolutely sympathize with the students who are asking for safer gun laws. I also wish we'd all look a little bit more closely at the Second Amendment and think about its purpose. I mean, nuance isn't something we're talking about lately.
And for the students I interviewed, I wanted to know, did they feel solidarity? Did they feel part of that movement? And did they want to help that movement?
I think ultimately what's important to remember is that even if we show what we want as students, it might not necessarily happen. Just because we have a walkout or march, that's not something that will affect the politicians too deeply. What you really need to do is get out and vote as soon as you can when you turn 18.
With all the drama floating around after a tragedy like Parkland, it seems like the gun debate is at a place it's never been. So I wanted to see, with my teacher and with students, did they feel that things are really going to change this time?
Yes, I have to be hopeful, and change feels like something's happening right now.
I do think things will change because now students are saying, oh, we saw the Women's March or the March for Science, and we can also organize a march to change things we want. And since so many people, myself included, are in favor of better gun control, I would say things would change.
Things are starting to change. For example, Dick's Sporting Goods has stopped selling rifles stopped, I think, selling assault-style rifles entirely, and Walmart has stopped selling guns and ammunition to people under 21. So without the legislation, at least someone somewhere in some PR department is probably saying, hey, we should do something about this.
I really hope things are going to change. I would say that I'm going to participate in the student protests coming up later this month.
Our school is also planning a walkout on March 14th, commemorating the month anniversary of the Parkland shooting, where students will walk out for 17 minutes to commemorate the 17 people who died in that shooting. Our school was organizing this via a cultural student organization meeting, so I decided to attend that meeting and film a little bit of it to understand how students are organizing.
Maryland, DC, Virginia, you guys are lucky with your proximity to the Capitol because you can be feet on the ground and voices that get seen. But how do you organize?
Wednesday.
So on the 3rd is a demonstration on the west side of the Capitol at 10 a.m. organized by some students at Sidwell Friends, and I know Chris and Hammond are participating.
I was just going to announce about that. And if anybody is interested in helping me put together, I know it's kind of last minute, but some kind of CSO run effort to get people out there.
No AR, no NRA, no violent USA. No AR, no NRA, no violent USA. No AR, no NRA, no violent USA.
Despite repeated public outcries, despite thousands of lost lives, and despite the broken families that follow these wasted souls, laws have remained the same. On a very personal level, I fear for my country.
We shouldn't need to run new lockdown drills or review our emergency protocol. Our schools should not be what changes, but rather our laws. We cannot focus on the last line of defense between our children and an assault weapon. We have to prevent those weapons from getting anywhere near our kids in the first place. The burden should not lie upon schools to protect themselves from military-grade assault weapons. The burden lies on the men and women in the building behind us.
As students, as the youth, who are the next generation and are coming of voting age, I think it's important to empower each other, ourselves, spread awareness about the issue of gun violence and how it affects all communities across the country.
Overall, it seems that everyone can agree that gun violence is an epidemic in America that needs to be cured. As to the strength and type of that cure, that's a little more controversial. But I'm glad I got to analyze some real perspectives from my high school. And if you want to join the gun debate, there'll be links in the description so that you can participate in this movement and help the students or raise awareness of this issue. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I'm Max Patten, senior at St. Anselm's Abbey School, and I hope you walked away from this more informed.